Being 7 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. Common Council, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice forever.
Different cadence tonight.
Look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move. Second.
I didn't get an agenda this year.
Any corrections or additions?
I think you could get one to me for records.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I look for a motion to approve January 12th, January 19th, January 26th, 2021 council minutes.
So
Move
move.
to approve.
Motion made by Zog, second by O'Connell.
Got it?
Any additions or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Authorization to pay bills, Mr. Morrock.
Thank you, Your Honor. Got to put my glasses on for this one. I move we pay bills in the amount of $1,200,023.94.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Barrington for authorization to pay the bills in the amount of $1,200,000 and 23. Let me start over. $1,200,023.94. Please cast your ballots.
Struggling here.
I can't see it, but
It's not working.
You're on,
Push hard.
you're on top.
Push harder. All right, got her.
Motion passed unanimously. All right. Consider a special request by Ms. Melissa Mulroy in the Shamrock Club.
Thank you and good evening to everybody. I am Melissa Mulroy from Shamrock Club, and what a strange time we're living through. As you know, all of last year's events had to be canceled, and who knew that the coronavirus would be still active a full year later. The police were sad to cancel this year's parade and entertainment tent, but they still want the leprechauns to get out and change the street signs. The family show that's usually held at the high school can't be there because the chairs are too close together. However, the show will go on. Shamrock Club has reserved Crystal Falls Banquet Hall to recognize the parade royalty and to have some lighthearted Irish entertainment, homespun Irish entertainment, and that'll be on Friday, March 12th. It's quite an honor for the Irish man, the rose, the lad, the lass, and the parade grand marshal to wear their titles for 2 years running. Some might say it's Murphy's Law. Oh,
So put March 12th on your calendar and come out to Crystal Falls. There's no admission charge, and seating will be at round tables with plenty of space. Every year when I come before you, I like to acknowledge the uniqueness of our country in that we have the opportunity to celebrate the many citizens' heritage. In this day and age, it's especially good to remember that Americans come from all corners of the earth. In our little city, about 1/4 of the population hails from the Emerald Isle, and the rest of you can be Irish for a week. Even though there won't be a grand parade this March, we can still celebrate in small ways. Support the restaurants and bars that will be serving Irish fare all week. Watch an Irish movie at home. Check out some books from our wonderful library to learn a wee bit about Ireland's heroes or poetry. Cook a pot of potato soup. I have a good recipe. One thing that will help 2021 to be a good year to remember is to continue renaming our city. Some traditions just need to stay in place. With that, I'd like to make a proposal that you consider changing the name New London to New Dublin from March 15 through March 20, 2021. You will make many people happy by fulfilling this request. Thank you.
I so move.
I second it.
Motion been made and seconded to change the city's name from New London to New Dublin from March 15th.
March 15th through March 20.
Through March 20th, 2021. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I see they're green.
And you got an Irish and a German vote.
Well, I took all of your votes, thank you.
Or a motion.
All right, we'll move on to public comment.
I will also take all your votes. My name's Katie Batten, and I decided to throw my hat in the ring for school board. I went to several meetings and realized very few members had any skin in the game, and I happen to have 4 skins at home. I just got so frustrated watching my kids trying to learn carpentry and electricity behind a screen, and I'm a huge advocate for the trades. We don't need any more marketing majors like me. I just am really passionate about the hands-on and seeing my kids struggle, and we have a lot of data to go, refer to that these kids need to be in class. With that being said, COVID won't be here forever. So I decided, instead of complaining, to actually do something about it and run for office, because I have 22 years experience working in radio. I just recently retired. I've always had to be a team player, working between clients, customers, and the DJs, and I know it takes a team player to be part of a board as well. One of the things I'm passionate about is I'm a Youper. I'm not from here, but I love the small town. I love everything the outdoors has to offer, and I want to recruit families and businesses to come here as well. And I think it all works together. When you have a vibrant school community, you're going to have a vibrant economic plan for your town. And Friday night lights leads to people going out for pizza after, leads to pizza, go for ice cream after Little League games. And I think it all works together. And nobody wants to move to a town with a history of a shutdown, and I think we have time to revert that. So I'm asking for your vote. I could use some real estate for some signs if you're up for a sign and like what I had to say or have any more info. I have my text number on here. I do have a Facebook page, Katie Batten for School Board. I'm just looking for some positive words in getting the word out.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Gorth?
Well, like Katie, I also decided to throw my hat in the ring, and she took a little bit of the wind out of my sails because I believe pretty much what she does. I believe that we've gone overboard with the quarantine and with the schools, limiting it to mother and father or two people to attend the sports events and so forth. I think we need to open it up. I also believe in having skilled trades being taught in the schools. Owning a business for 25 years, we repair trucks and semi-trucks and trailers, and we find it very, very difficult to find any kids with any type of skill at all. And so I'd really like to see an emphasis on that, of pushing the skilled trades within the schools. Also, I'd like to see a little bit more transparency with the board and a little bit more input from the parents and the teachers, both. So that very much does concern me. See a lot of parents turning out, but I don't believe the board is always listening. So I would like to change that, and that's what I'd be there for. Also, I'm a fiscal conservative. A little bit about myself. I served under the Walker and Evers administration on the Small Business Regulatory Review Board for the state of Wisconsin. I currently serve on the Leadership Council for the National Federation of Independent Businessmen for Wisconsin. I sat on the advisory board for Community Bank and Trust for 7 years, so I have a background. also owned a business for 25 years, the business that we're in. It's a family business. My wife and my son are involved in it, and they still let me think I run the place, so that's the good part. But with that, I'm also looking for real estate to put my signs. And just, I would appreciate your vote at that time, so that would be about it.
Thank you, Mr.
Right.
Gorth. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Standing and special committees. Start off with Board of Public Works. Mr. Barrington.
Thank you. Board of Public Works met on Monday, February 1st, 2021 at 4:30 PM. First agenda was wastewater treatment plant facility update. We listened to the update, saw what's going on there. We had no concerns, and we moved on. The next item, review an ordinance regulating mercury discharge into the sanitary sewer system. Ben Gruhl talked about upcoming DNR regulations that will require the city to minimize mercury discharge from the wastewater treatment plant. One potential source of mercury comes from the dental facilities who work with mercury amalgams in dental fillings. Ben presented a program and a draft ordinance to require dental facilities to install amalgam separators to prevent the disposal of mercury into the city sanitary sewer system. Motion made and seconded to approve a draft ordinance to require dental offices to implement procedures and install equipment to prevent the discharge of mercury into the city's sanitary system. Motion carried by all. That will be brought to council tonight. The next item, safety improvement options within the London School District on a crosswalk by the district bus garage. At a previous meeting, the board discussed possible crosswalk safety improvements in the form of the school, in front of the school district's bus garage. Joe Marquardt from the New London School District was present to provide the school's perspective on safety improvements and stated that the school will be willing to continue discussions on cost-sharing options for those safety improvements. Chad Hurth and Marquardt will work together on a proposal. At this time, we did not have to make a motion to bring that forward. The next item was consider for approval an agreement with McMahon Associates for general engineering services. The board reviewed an annual engineering agreement from McMahon Associates for engineering needs that generally have a scope of less than $5,000. Engineering projects over $5,000 typically will have a specific agreement defining the exact scope of services and cost for the project. Motion made and seconded to approve an agreement with McMahon Associates for general services that will be brought to council tonight. Director's report was included and reviewed by the committee. Future agenda items, review options and/or agreement for brush disposal. Safety improvement options with the school district. Meeting was finished at 5:07. I move to bring to council tonight to adopt an ordinance amending section 7.07B to designate 2-hour parking in the south side stalls at 210 Lincoln Court. This would be in effect from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. except on Sundays and holidays. This will be the first reading. This,
I second that.
Second reading?
or I've got, it's a bad week for me. This will be the second week reading.
Motion been made and seconded by Zog to adopt an ordinance amending section 7.07 subsection B to designate 2-hour parking in the south side stall at 210 Lincoln Court. Second reading. Please cast your ballots. All in favor, motion passes.
I bring council tonight an ordinance regulating mercury discharge into the sanitary sewage system. This applies mainly to dental offices that places or removes mercury amalgam. This is a first reading.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Zog to adopt an ordinance regulating mercury discharge into the sanitary sewer system for the first reading. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried by all.
I move to bring to council tonight to authorize the execution of an agreement with McMahon and Associates Incorporated for general engineering services.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Besaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with McMahon Associates for general engineering services. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried.
And that is all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Barrington. Move on to Finance and Personnel. Mr. Morrock.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Finance and Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, February 3rd at 4:30 PM in the council chambers and via Zoom. Motion was made by Barrington and seconded by Dorsey to recommend the council approval of a correction of the ward on the ordinance for annexation of the Schultz property. Motion carried 8-0. Treasurer Radke reviewed the 2020 year-end unaudited revenue expenditure, assigned and unassigned fund balance, and wheel tax reports. The actual 2020 expenditures were less than budgeted. Revenue was higher than budgeted, allowing the city to designate funds and add to the unassigned fund balance. Motion was made by Barrington and seconded by O'Connell to recommend to council a resolution amending the 2020 budget. The resolution authorizes the movement of funds between categories with no increase in the total 2020 budget. Motion carried 8-0. Motion was made by Dorsey and seconded by Barrington to recommend to council the resolution assigning fund balance as presented by the finance director. Assigning a fund balance allows the city to put aside funds based on anticipated future project needs or commitments. Motion carried 8-0. Finance director's reports were discussed. There being no public comment or further business, the meeting adjourned at 5:20 PM. The next regularly scheduled Finance Committee meeting will be held in the council chambers on March 3rd at 4:30 PM. Then I would move we approve an ordinance to amend ordinance number 1383 to correction of ward designation for the Schultz property at 1715, 1711 Mill Street.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Besaw to approve an ordinance to amend an ordinance number 1383 to correction of ward designation for the Schultz property at 1715 and 1711 Mill Street. Any further comments? Please cast your ballot. Motion passes 8-0.
Then I move we approve the resolution amending the 2020 budget.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Dorsey to approve a resolution amending the 2020 budget. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 8-0.
Then I move we approve a resolution assigning fund balance for the year end 12/31/2020.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Barrington to approve a resolution assigning fund balance for the year end 12/31/2020. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 8-0.
Then I move we approve the license list for February as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Beesaw to approve the license list as presented. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 8-0.
That's all I have for finance and personnel, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Morak. Moving on to Park and Recreation, Mr. Beesaw.
Thank you, Your Honor. The February Park and Rec Committee meeting was met on February 2nd. Meeting was called to order at 4:46. Motion was approved, agenda was approved, seconded by Fache. Motion is carried by all. Public comment relevant to items on the agenda. There was none presented. Discuss and possible act on a request from Cindy Bungart to obtain a section of the city property from River Trail Park. At the previous meeting, the committee voted to investigate giving a section of city property located at the western edge of River Trail Park to Cindy Bungart to square off her property. Since this park is tied to a land and water conservation fund grant, Chad Harth contacted the DNR grant administrator and was informed that the city will be required to provide a replacement property to put back to the grant program that has the same value to the public. The DNR also stated that the process would take 12 to 18 months. Understanding that there are costs and staff time needed, the committee requested that Ms. Bungart be contacted to see if she would be willing to compensate the city for costs to make this transfer happen. No motion was made at this time. Update committee on potential bike trail south of Floral Hill Cemetery. A meeting took place with Rob Way Cemetery Commission member, Jamie Walbrook Cemetery Sexton, Mayor Herder, Bob Beesaw Administrator Chad Harth, and Zach Howard to discuss the concept of using the back wooded area behind Floral Hill Cemetery for bike trails. Way and Walbrook expressed concerns with increased traffic driving through the cemetery. They stated that the Cemetery Commission would prefer that this area not be used for public recreation to keep the cemetery a place of serenity. Two other locations were discussed that could potentially be developed for this purpose, including the city land access from Partridge Drive and nearby parkland owned by Outagamie County. Committee members voiced their understanding of the concerns with keeping the cemetery a place of solitude, but felt that the wooded area behind Floral Hill Cemetery is too great of a public access asset that shouldn't just sit there with no use. It was recommended to have a joint Park and Rec Cemetery Commission meeting in the future to discuss options. No motion was made at this time. Director's report and memo. The director's report was included in the agenda packet and reviewed by the committee. Committee members report, there was none presented. Future agenda items, replacement of Riverside boat launch docks and kayak launches. Review mass gathering restrictions on city property. Potential bike trails behind Floral Hill Cemetery. O'Shea moved to adjourn, second by Herder. Motion was adjourned at 5:30. Motion was carried by all. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Beesaw. Moving right along to Planning Commission. Mr. Beesaw, you're up
Thank you, Your
again.
Honor. The January Planning and Commission meeting met on Thursday, January 28th. Motion was made by Gabbard, second by Steingraber to adopt the agenda. Motion was carried by all. Motion by Walbrook and second by Steingraber to approve the December 17th, 2020 meeting minutes as presented. Motion carried by all. The commission reviewed a site plan proposal from Dan McFall, Captain Dan Storage. The proposal includes the construction of 8 new self-storage unit buildings at 2015 North Shawano Street. Building Inspector Backus reviewed the proposal and found the site plan to be in compliance with the city's zoning ordinance. A question about the front setback was asked, as normally the building setback from the property line would need to be 25 feet. However, if parking was provided, then a setback of 50 feet would be required. The commission did not feel that vehicle unloading into a self-storage unit facility constituted the requirement of a vehicle parking lot. Motion by Bassett, second by Mayor Herder to approve the site plan as presented. Motion was carried by all. Season and Kelly Paulson from Wolf River Art League presented conceptual designs for 22 new murals, locations for consideration throughout the city. Each mural in sight was reviewed and questioned, and questions were answered. One non-mural concept that was presented was to take different bikes, paint them solid colors, attach flower baskets on them, and place them throughout the downtown, similar to what other communities have done with sidewalk sculpture art. Vessett expressed concern with the city's liability for placing art on the sidewalks. Administrator Harth will research the concept further to find out how other communities have handled that type of art on sidewalks. Motion by Mayor Herder, seconded by Gabbard, to approve all mural designs as presented. Motion was carried by all. Administrator Harth informed the commission that the owner of the London Building Supply at 1718 South Mill Street is considering purchasing a parcel next to his property. The parcel is currently outside the city limits, and the owner wanted to know if he would annex the property into the city, would the commission consider zoning the parcel as B2 Highway Commercial to match the zoning designation of current businesses. Commission members did not raise any concerns with the request, and the consensus was that the commission would agree with the zoning request if the property is annexed. No motion was made on this item at this time. Administrator Harth provided the commission some background on the status of updating the city's comprehensive plan, which state law requires to be updated every 10 years. An agreement was presented by Cedar Corporation to assist the city in the first step of the required update. A second update on different parts of the plan would be done at the later date after the 2020 census figures are released, which is anticipated to be in 2022. That'll be brought to council. Motion by Gabbard, second by Bessett, that the council approve an agreement hiring Cedar Corporate to assist the city in updating, identifying portions of the city comprehensive plan. The motion was carried by all. Updates on current planning issues and review of future agenda items was discussed. The next planning commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 25th, 2021. Motion to adjourn by Gabbard, second by Steingraber. Motion adjourned at 5:59. I have two things to bring back to council. Approve a zoning ordinance designating the property at N 3819 County Highway T, formerly Town of Oratonia, 1715 and 1711 Mill Street, City of New London, as R1 Single Family Residence. This is a second reading.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Morrock to approve a zoning ordinance designating the property at N 3819 County Highway T, formerly Town of Hortonia, 1715 and 1711 Mill Street, City of New London, as R1 Single Family Residential, second reading. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 8-0.
And I would look for the council to approve authorizing and execution of an agreement with Cedar Corporation for professional engineering services to update, identify sections of the City of New London's comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Barrington to authorize the execution of an agreement with Cedar Corporation for professional engineering services to update and identify sections of the City of New London's comprehensive plan. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried 8-0.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Besaw. Moving on, we have economic development. Up next, Mr. Morrock.
Thank you, Your Honor. Economic Development Committee met on Tuesday, January 26th at 4:30 p.m. in New London City Council chambers and via Zoom. This was a joint meeting with the Common Council. The December 15th, 2020 minutes were approved. The Common Council at this time came into session for a joint committee-council meeting. The committee and council briefly reviewed the progress from the last meeting regarding the two developer proposals for the downtown riverfront property. Administrator Hirth presented a list of questions that the developers answered with the purpose of providing the committee members more details on their developer proposals. The committee asked a few follow-up questions to the Soderski team and discussed some details of each proposal. Thompson expressed a different perspective in that he felt the city should wait as he would like to see something with more of a public-focused venue built on the site rather than the private multifamily housing. Further discussion took place whether to proceed with multifamily housing and with one of the presented developer proposals. Zog presented his opinion that the Retzlaff proposal was more attractive and wanted to work with a local developer who has multifamily housing units already established in New London. Zog moved to recommend that the city work with developer Randy Retzlaff to further define site plans and negotiate a developer's agreement for the downtown riverfront project. The motion failed due to a lack of second by a committee member. Dorsey moved, seconded by Bishop, to recommend that the city work with the developer firm S.C. Swiderski, LLC, to further define site plans and negotiate a developer's agreement for the downtown riverfront project. The motion passed 10 yes, 2 no, 1 abstention, Zog and O'Connell voting no. Thompson voting abstention. Kopitsky provided a local business update report. Wolf River lawyers have relocated to 213 West North Water Street, which was formerly Earl Waters' law firm, and Mr. Waters will be joining the Wolf River lawyers firm. Bolt's Bakery was purchased, and the new owners have renamed it as the Family Bake Shop. A new business called the Ultimate Sports Complex is moving into the old Elevate Archery Building at 865 Surprise Ending Road. The new business will offer wrestling, CrossFit, and training for other competitive sports. Cornerstone Insurance Agency is relocating to 421 South Pearl Street. The Grand Cinema Theater is up for sale. The current asking price is $575,000. The former Huntington Bank at 403 West North Water Street has been purchased by Living Waters Assembly of God and will be a new worship center. Marriott Travel has relocated to 106 West North Water Street. The owners of Hare & Company at 511 South Pearl Street are retiring and closing. Jolly Rogers Pizzeria at 220 West North Water Street is working on some exterior improvements to their building. The committee reviewed potential speakers and agenda items for future meetings. There was no public comment. The next committee meeting will be scheduled for February 23rd, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. And the meeting adjourned at 5:15 p.m.
Another church.
Then I move that we approve a developer's assistance agreement with Midwest Properties LLP to purchase property in the Northeast Business Park.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Besaw to approve a developer's assistance agreement with Midwest Properties LLP to purchase property in the Northeast Business Park. Any further discussion? Please cast the ballots. All in favor, 8-0.
Then I move we authorize the execution of an easement agreement with Midwest Properties LLP.
Second.
That one's not on there.
No?
That was the amended agenda, so
no.
that came off.
Oh, that
Yep.
came off.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I withdraw my motion then. Okay. You also have copies of the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation monthly report in your packet, and that's all I have for economic development here.
Thank you, Mr. Morak. Moving on to Capital Equipment and Project Committee. Mr. Morak, you're up again for a read.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Capital Equipment and Projects Committee met on Wednesday, February 3rd at 5:21 p.m., immediately following the Finance meeting. Finance Director Judy Radke reviewed the 10-year capital equipment and projects plan. Annually, the city departments go through the exercise of updating their 10-year capital plan to revise and reprioritize. Having a 10-year plan allows the city to evaluate competing demands for resources by prioritizing and reflecting on the city's long-term goals and objectives. Mrs. Radke then walked the committee through the 2021 capital equipment and project needs and highlighted the equipment and projects that were prioritized by the city staff. After discussion between the committee members and department heads, the following list of capital equipment and projects was approved. Replacement of the IHC flatbed truck in the amount of $157,500. Replacement of the dump plow truck in the amount of $140,000. Replacement of police, fire, public works, parks radio equipment in the amount of $200,000. There are thermal imaging cameras for the fire department in the amount of $20,000. Replacement of the phone system in the amount of $53,000, using $45,000 in assigned funds and $8,000 in 2021 capital funds. A server upgrade at the police department in the amount of $14,000. An upgrade to the MS Office system in the amount of $27,000, using $13,500 in assigned funds and $13,500 in 2021 capital funds. Replacement of the pool copier in the amount of $1,600. The street and patching program in the amount of $50,000, and the sidewalk patching program in the amount of $25,000. The ejector pit for the Washington Senior Center in the amount of $8,000. Security cameras for Franklin and Hatton Park in the Floral Hill brush site in the amount of $20,000. And replacement of the Washington Center gym doors in the amount of $5,000. All motions carried 8-0. Finance Director Radke recommended the next capital equipment and projects meeting be scheduled once sale of the equipment and revenue estimates are confirmed, tentatively looking at holding that meeting after the April finance meeting, and the committee agreed. The meeting then adjourned at 5:45 p.m. Then I would move that we approve the 2021 capital program in the amount of $662,600.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Dorsey to approve the 2021 capital program in the amount of $662,600. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carried by all.
And that's all I have for capital projects, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Morrock. Moving on to minutes and reports will stand as read in your council packets. Further moving along to reports of officers and recent events and announcements to the public. Start off with my report. I'd like to make my appointment to the Library and Museum Board of Mr. Steve Hart. If I can get a motion and a second on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by made by Morrock, seconded by Mr. Zog. Any further discussion on that? Please cast your ballots. Tom?
Didn't work.
Motion carried by all. You're good. The only other thing I have is for the council, a reminder that Casey will be taking photos of everybody after the council session tonight. So if you want to stick around and get your photos taken, you're more than welcome. That is all that I have, so we'll move on to the utility manager. Mr. Bessett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Electric crews are continuing to trim trees around our power lines. Water crews repaired a hydrant on the end of Wood Lane that was not working properly, found a main gasket in the bottom preventing operation on January 12th. On January 14th, a valve broke at our industrial substation, leaking oil. Crews isolated the breaker. We had Steinmetz drain the unit. We repaired the valve, refilled the unit with oil, and returned it to service. I'm working on lease agreements for the antennas at Floral Hill, as well as the building the county wants to replace to make room for the new radio equipment. The water department started testing large meters this February. We had a main break on Sunday, February 7th at 419 East Washington Street. That repair was made by our crews on February 8th. The Utilities is waiting for approval from the DNR to proceed with repairs to well number 5 located on Douglas Street. Municipal Well pulled the well and televised it to determine the recommended repairs for us. And I'd also like to thank Jackie Leva for 7 years of service with New London Utilities. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bassett. Move on to Chief of Police, Mr. Schleter.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just got a bunch of anniversaries tonight. Chris Dirth, 9 years. Chris Gregory, 27 years. Nick Campbell, 11 years. Jeff Schleter, 25 years. Brent Savecki, 6 years. And Lisa Taylor, 11 years. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you all for your service. Thank you, Chief. Move on to Director of Public Services, City Administrator, Mr. Hirth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Parks crews, we're out working on winter recreation venues. The sled hill across from the boat launch is open. We have some cross-country ski trails at Hatton Park groomed, and they're also working on an ice rink over by the Aquatics and Fitness Center. And we're hoping to have that ice rink open by the end of this week. Obviously, the cold weather is really helping us with that right now. So if you want more information of those winter venues, you can go to our website or call us in the office. The city is working with the Fox Cities Area Habitat for Humanity in an upcoming Rock the Block neighborhood revitalization program. It's an event to assist qualified homeowners in exterior home improvements. I believe they sent out letters to quite a few of the homeowners in town, so you might have gotten that letter already. But the event is scheduled for the middle of September, and if you're interested in the program, you can contact the Fox Cities Habitat for Humanity. Otherwise, we do have applications and business cards in the lobby here if you don't have any of that information. So you can come down to the lobby here at the municipal building and grab that information. And then, last but not least, I'm happy to announce we have a new building inspector on board. His name is David Vincent. He comes to us from Lower Michigan, and he's busy just keeping on learning about everything that's going on, the projects we have going on, and everything here in Wisconsin. So we're happy to have David on board, and we welcome him to Wisconsin and New London. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hirth. Moving right along, Fire Chief, Mr. Wilford.
Thank you, Your Honor. Some service anniversaries for the fire department. Bernie Ritchie, 36 years. Greg Stylen, 31 years. Joe Kuzmachuk, 17 years. Ryan Ritchie, 9 years. Matt Bennett, 4 years. Also, just a reminder to, if you could, remove the snow around your fire hydrants if that applies to you. It's a great help if something happens, if we need water. So just a reminder to do that for us. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you for all their services as well, and thank you. Next, we'll move for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Made by Barrington, seconded by Connell. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're adjourned.